So these are the requirements and prerequisites also. So firstly, about cleanliness and food. So before you start any kind of practice, especially that related to yoga, we say you have to clear your mm, you know bubbles completely so that the bladder is empty. So the practice becomes more easier. If you're practicing asanas, you know, mm, it's easier for you to move because you feel light on the inside and there's less constraints in the inside. And once you get the dirt out, it's much easier for you to move around once you start practice, whether it's the asana practice or once you start practicing pranayama, you're inhaling the vital energy. So it's more beneficial if there's vital energy enters you and there's no dirt inside you, and that energy is directly absorbed in each and every nook and corner of the body and the mind. So it's very essential that you keep your bladder empty and the bowels empty before you start off with the practice of yoga, especially the asana part or the pranayama part. Secondly, taking bath. That is one of the most widely asked questions, whether it's good to take bath before the practice or whether it's good to take bath after the practice. I say both, but see which one you can follow. So if you take bath before you start off with the practice, you naturally will feel fresh, and because of the lukewarm water or hot water, depending on whichever season you are in, so it helps you to loosen the muscles also. So a sense of freshness comes in the mind and the body, and asana practice becomes much more easier. But after you start the practice, by the end of the practice, you would have sweat and you would have been feeling sticky all around. So then it's also advisable to take bath after that. So this is left to you. See which one is easy for you to adopt. If you ask me, not complete cold bath, maybe very lukewarm water bath will be doable once you finish your practice, but definitely not hot water at all, like at all. And then you can end the bath by just sprinkling the cold water all around so that the nerves become more, the nerves don't lose the energy. Okay, that's with respect to the bath. Yeah, if you can't take bath before you come for the practice, it's okay, doesn't matter. You can come along, start the practice, and then go back and then freshen up yourself. But definitely not hot water, because you would have done an intense practice, and then you don't want to strain your muscles and the nerves by pouring hot water all over the body. So when it comes to the food, preferably we say, it's better you practice on empty stomach. So usually, most of them have this. Those who come in the early morning, so naturally they wouldn't have had breakfast, and then it's easier for them to come and practice, and then continue the day, go back, and then freshen up and have their meal, and then go ahead with the day. But there are some who can't practice on empty stomach at all. So for them, you can just have a light coffee or a small tea or some biscuits, but make sure there's at least half an hour, 45 minutes, half an hour gap between the starting of the practice and the time. Give at least 30 minutes to 40 minutes after you've consumed, and by the time you start your practice. And if you're practicing in the evening, I think if you're practicing at around 5:30 or 7 or any other point of time, just make sure there's at least 4 hours. Yeah, exactly 4 hours. If you have had a proper meal, if you have had a heavy meal, you can say goodbye to the practice. It's not going to happen. So try to give at least 4 hours gap in between the consumption of the food and by the time you start your practice. So this is one thing that you got to keep in mind with respect to the food. And the next one, time. What's the ideal time for practicing? Yeah, definitely mornings is the ideal time, but not everyone is, because you don't lead the life of sadhaka or a person who is secluded from the outside world and living in solitude within yourself. No, you have a number of other activities that you do throughout the day. Early mornings is definitely not possible for householders or the ones who look after the kids and have to look after the family. No, at present, see what time suits you based on the lifestyle you lead. For me, it's like ideal because I have any time is ideal for me because this is the only thing that I've dedicated my life to. You see what time suits you. For some, it may be 6:30 in the morning. For some, it'll be 8 o'clock. For some, it'll be 10 o'clock. For some other people, mornings is impossible. Only evening is the only time they can practice. For some, evening is impossible. Morning is the only time that they can practice. So since you're in an urban society and then you're part of this cycle of samsara, so you choose which time is ideal for you. Ultimately, what happens when you do the practice, is what is really important. But if you really want to stick to the time, yeah, we definitely say early morning is the best time. But you know, you don't fall into that category of want. It's a saying that okay, it's a rule that you have to finish your practice early morning because you have other things also to look into. So see what time suits you, and then you choose the time accordingly. It's not necessary that you have to stick to the practice early morning and then early in the evening, or even before the sun comes up. Yeah, those are the rules and regulations that are followed by the brahmacharis or the sadhakas who are on the path of the yoga sadhana. For them, that is the top priority. Nothing else is. If they won't even consume a drop of water or the first meal before they do all the practices that are to be done on that particular day, but you don't fall into that category. So don't break your head too much. Practice at the time, at your own convenient time, whenever it's possible. That'll be more than enough for right now. But if you take a vow of secluding yourself from the outside world, living in solitude, or you become you enter a life of a hermitage, then that's different. Let's not talk about it. It's a different scenario altogether. And then next one, can we do practice in the outdoors? Definitely no. See, you're still what do you say? You still tender on the inside. You aren't that strong enough to withstand the external environmental factors like the sun or the wind, or the rain. No. See, imagine. See, you're still a small lamp. Okay, if this lamp is kept in a open ground, it within a few seconds it'll be it'll go off because it doesn't have the strength to withstand the external changes that are happening. That's exactly what you are right now. You are still in a very what do you say, you're very young. Your energy isn't that strong enough for you to go and practice outdoors or in the sun. Definitely no, because your energy is not that strong. You have to strengthen your energy, and then once you reach that stage where, irrespective of wherever you are, this energy that is inside you stays the same, then you can go and practice outside the sun. Now I see people practicing outdoors. No, it's definitely not possible. See, you're doing your practice, energy starts to be generated from within you. So this energy, it's easier to confine within you when you're in a closed space. See, this is why even the hatha yogis or the sadhakas who practice in seclusion and different parts of the mountains, they have a small space for themselves. It is not a compulsion that just because you're a sannyasi or a monk that you have to have a small space. Not at all. You have a small space, it's easier for you to confine your mind and your body. You'll be saving a lot of energy is dissipated just because of loss of energy because of the space that you are in. If you have a small space, a lot of energy is conserved, and then it's easier for you to go ahead in the practice. Imagine how much time and energy you'll be spending if you have a big space. Just to maintain the space itself becomes a full-time job for you, and you lose track of whatever you're doing. Understood? So definitely no practicing in the sun. So what about the place? Yeah, you have to choose a place which is clean, dry, which has a lot of ventilation, and make sure you stick to the place because that is where you concentrate your energy. The place has no value. You are the one who adds who will add value to the place. And definitely no closing the eyes in the beginning. You can't make head or tail of what is happening if you keep your eyes closed and say I'm going to do my practice with eyes closed. First learn how to see with the physical eyes open. Once you reach a state where you have transcended the limitations of the body and the mind, naturally you feel like you can't keep your physical eyes open at all. So that's when naturally the eyelids will close, your journey will your mind and the senses will turn inwards. Then you will be able to do practices only with the closed eyes. You will never be able to do the practices with the open eyes. Okay. And one main thing that you have to keep in mind is, when you're doing your practice, keep the body active. Only the body must be active, not the brain. If you use too much of brain power and practicing, at the end of the practice you will experience severe fatigue. Keep the brain alert. Keep the body active. This is one of the most important secrets of practicing the asana, because naturally in the course of time you'll understand what this means. What does it mean when I say, okay, keep the body active and keep the brain alert? You'll understand that by time. First, place this plant this seed of the thought of keeping the body active and the brain alert right now. Okay. The next one, how should the breathing be? Definitely you have to breathe through the nose, but not through the mouth. But certain times you won't be able to go to the asana or extend or stretch a bit more in the initial stages if you don't breathe through the mouth, because you don't have enough strength in the lungs to breathe through the nose. But we say, and even the text says, the breathing during the practice of yoga must happen only through the nose. Even the breath may be short, it doesn't matter. Go for short breaths, exhale, and each time you want to go deeper into the asanas, exhale. Exhalation is one of the easiest means and the only means for you to go deeper into the asana practice. Slowing down the breath and emphasizing and making sure that the exhalation is twice that of the inhalation helps you develop more flexibility in the practices also. And most important, shavasana. How long should I do shavasana? If you're practicing for 1 hour, definitely at least for 10 minutes. If you're practicing for 2.5 hours, at least 15 minutes. The body must be completely still. I'll even be discussing how to do shavasana. Not many people even know how to do shavasana, because there's actually a symmetry that you have to follow while you start your journey in shavasana. You have to know how to do shavasana. You have to be how to make sure your body and mind, at least the body, remains dead. I'll share with you. So definitely you have to end your practice with shavasana, because all the practices that you would have done has to settle within you, and you have to settle in you. Because if you just do the practice and then roll the mat, or just leave it there and then leave, no, whatever you have practiced has to settle within you, right? So for the practice to settle in you, you have to rest. Once you rest, you'll feel more connected to your own self, and then you feel, okay, the silence has pervaded through each and every part of the body and mind, and then when you wake up, you feel fresh. So to feel fresh and alive, it's very essential you end the practice with silence. So if you would have started your journey through the entire practice of the asana or the pranayama, all these practices are for silencing. But shavasana, when you come to shavasana, you just let go of your own self. So that letting go of yourself brings in a sense of expansion. Okay. Thank you. I'll see you soon.